You're listening to Saturday Morning Media. And now, back to our show. Here we go. I think my favorite musical of all time is Little Shop of Horrors. Little Shop of Horrors, the soundtrack of which was something that I listened to over and over again. Now, let me be clear. This is the soundtrack to the 80s film starring Rick Moranis and Ellen Greene. That is the version that I wore out that record. That shows you how old it was. I had it on record. And I am pretty sure that I had the album and was addicted to the album way before I ever saw the film. Now, let me back up a little bit. I believe what reminded me of this and wanting to do a GrantCast episode about this was I'm a member of Dr. Demento's online streaming website, and you can just download tons and tons and tons of old shows from his archive. And so I've just been going through, and I've been downloading shows from kind of the prime years when I was a kid that I listened to the Dr. Demento show. And that is kind of like 84 till about 89, 90, because then I got into high school and I wasn't listening to Dr. Demento as much. But anyway, I loved Dr. Demento, and I love listening to the show, and I was listening to a show from 1987 today, and he said he played the song Grow For Me from the Little Shop of Horrors soundtrack. And I don't know if it's this exact episode I was listening to from 1987 where I heard the song, but I remember vividly hearing the Rick Moranis version of Grow For Me. This makes me believe that I had the soundtrack way before I saw the film. And so maybe the soundtrack came out first, and then, because I did go see the film in the theater when it came out, and I loved it. And I think Dr. Demento played a lot of tracks from it, and that's how I heard about it. And I picked up the album, and I thought it was just great. Now, I didn't know anything about the story. I didn't know anything. Is Little Shop of Horrors. I had the pictures on the back of the album, but I didn't know anything about what the story was. There was some sort of plant. The word horrors was in the title. So anyway, I was thinking about this today, that in 1987, so let's see, 1987, I would have been 13. So makes sense, I guess. Hearing the song Grow For Me, I thought he was singing to his penis. I thought this was a guy who could not get his penis erect, and he was singing Grow For Me. And the lines about soil and sun and anything, like I didn't, it didn't put it together. But open a vein, I was like, oh, well, he needs blood to go to his member. Anyway. So that's what I thought it was about. Then I saw the film, and I love the film. I think that is one of the best films ever made. I would put that up there. Just that whole thing. The music is great. The performances are great. All the little side, Christopher Guest has got a little cameo in it, and Steve Martin as the dentist, and Bill Murray, and it was just great. And I loved every single song off the album. I just thought the album was fantastic. I even at one point had the songbook, with all the piano parts. It was the official movie version of the songbook with all the piano parts, and I loved it. And the funny thing was, at that time, even in junior high school, I wasn't really I loved comedy music, but I wasn't into singing and into performing. Now, that Little Shop of Horrors soundtrack gave me the confidence to sing at the top of my lungs, confidence I didn't deserve to have, and I shouldn't have had, but I would sing at the top of my lungs with that soundtrack. And I really believe it was that movie and that soundtrack that gave me the confidence to audition for musicals when I was in high school. And I can't be sure of this, but I have to be certain that I sang a song from Little Shop of Horrors, maybe even Grow For Me. By then I had seen the movie, so I knew it wasn't about a penis. But maybe it was that, that album gave me the confidence to audition for these things and that I could sing with these things. The other thing is, Rick Moranis is a singer and he sang, but it's like, I'm certainly not insulting Rick Moranis's voice, but it was like, to me, it was like, I could match that voice. I could do that voice. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like if you listen to a Pavarotti record, you're like, oh, I can't do that. There's no way I could do that. But like you hear Rick Moranis and you're like, yeah, I could sing like that. I think, and so, yeah, that album, when I think about it, I think that might be one of my favorite musicals of all time. My absolute favorite musical of all time is a musical called Song of Singapore, which nobody knows, which nobody has performed in millions of years. And that's another one I sing along to, but I didn't discover that one until I was in college. But, Little Shop of Horrors, absolutely fantastic. And the first year, and I think I talked about this, but the first year of my freshman year, the football coach was our theater teacher. And so it just wasn't great. But then the second year, we got this teacher, Mr. Freiberg, my sophomore year, who was a theater guy. And so he put on a play in the fall and a musical in the spring, and I loved it. And that's where I fell in love with theater and wanted to do more theater stuff. And so the first musical I was in was Grease. I played Roger, the mooning champ of Rydell High, in Grease, and that was fun. And then the second year, we did, have I talked about all this? I feel like I've somehow talked about all this, but the second year we did Chicago, and this was before the revival with Catherine Zeta-Jones and Renee Zellweger. This was in 91. And then our senior year, we did Little Me, which was great. But thinking back, it really was Little Shop of Horrors that gave me the confidence to sing, and that album in particular to sing. I haven't listened to that album in forever, except for just listening to this Dr. Demento show and hearing Grow For Me and maybe Dentist a couple times. But just a little walk down memory lane and thinking about that Little Shop of Horrors album and how I wore it out. And I think there is a song on the soundtrack that was not in the film, and I think it's not in the musical either. Maybe it's in the musical, Don't Feed the Plants, and I just remember I loved that song. I thought that song was so great, and I would play it nonstop, just moving the record, because it was just a rocker of a song. Anyway, there you go. That's all I wanted to talk about today. I don't know. It popped in my head, and I thought I would do a short little episode about it. So thank you for listening. Trying to do more GrantCast. I have some ideas of some things I want to try. I always see I was talking to Dave Slusher, recent Podcast Hall of Fame inductee announced. Well, he was announced. He hasn't been inducted yet. But I was talking to him, and he was talking about the GrantCast, and he's like, yeah, what is the GrantCast? And I go, yeah, it's like a playground where I can just try things out. So I have some ideas of things to try out in the future. So thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. I appreciate it. I hope you're having a great week, a great day wherever you are. And thank you so much. This episode of the GrantCast is copyright 2022 Saturday Morning Media Grandpa Choco executive producer, all rights reserved. www.saturdaymorningmedia.com. You've been listening to Saturday Morning Media. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.